AI, and I am here at the In5 Media Center in Dubai with Satish from Farmhawk. How are you, Satish?
I'm doing well. Thanks for hosting me at your studio.
Great to have you. Okay, so we have some really interesting conversations with coffee here today. Uh, yeah. So yeah, this conversation is going to be about some important topics like sustainability and climate change and financial inclusion. And there is a product that actually touches upon all of these important issues. And yeah, and this is about agriculture and farming. So like this is really at the center of sustainability and climate change because farming is not only directly impacted by this, but also it's one of the forces that really shapes the health of our planet and where climate change is going. Also sustainability. Farmers, when they can make smart decisions, they can save a lot of resources, time, money, also financial inclusion in terms of like banks, institutions. Farmers often don't have actually access to traditional finance in this way. So now we really want to hear from Satish, like how Farmhawk is actually addressing these challenges. So yes, go ahead.
Great. I think that's quite a good introduction and setting the space for why Farmhawk. But before I go deep into that, why Farmhawk, now most people think agriculture is boring, which is what we want to change, at least from a crypto perspective or how a technology could actually help this farmer. So let me give you some facts. Then it probably would be more insightful for people to understand how AI, blockchain, and Web3. Today, we don't want to confuse this with all the terms to the farmers, basically. So, but main idea here is that if you look from a climate change, because that is where a lot of things are happening, right? We have global warming. So, statistically, what happens is 20% of the global greenhouse gas emissions are actually coming from agriculture. Three factors contribute very clearly for that. One is the livestock, the methane gas coming from the cows, buffaloes, or the goats on the farm, right? Which is we can't avoid. The second factor is the chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides, which we can avoid. The vision of Farmhawk today is to be able to tell people how technology at less than $1 would help farmers to be able to reduce chemical fertilizers and pesticides so that they could really contribute to reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. That's the first thing why Farmhawk actually was started, like the research started 5 to 6 years before, way back in 2019. And then the second thing, what is the motivation factor? So I had a chance to meet, officials from World Bank and IFC 6 to 7 years before when they visited India. Now, why India? They come because IFC gives tons and tons of aid or loans to state governments in India, and they also know that because of red tape and everything, not much aid actually flows to the farmers. But that is probably political. I'll not go into the deep into that. But idea here is that from a farmer's perspective, today our focus we have been doing the focus on small holder farmers who are actually owning like not more than 5 acres of land at the max. Obviously, things were good maybe 40, 50 years before. Then we have a lot of population, siblings, division of land, and economically, sometimes the farmers sell their land just for marriage or education or whatever it is. What is happening on the ground, both in the global south, starting from South America, Africa, India, and say up to Bali, is that farmers are actually unbanked. 70% of them are not in the purview of any financial institution. Even if financial institution, if you are a bank and you want to lend to me as a farmer, you have no credit scoring available with you so that you could lend, let's say, 6% or 8% interest. So what I'm doing as a farmer is that I'm going to loan sharks. The farmer is going to loan sharks, alternative financing at 24% per annum minimum. They go up to 36%, 48%. And this is the second motivation factor why there are some farmers in this part of the world where they are still paying debt of this grandfather, never ending debt. So that was the motivation factor why the research started in 2019 and we are talking 2026. But that's exactly where we want to tackle climate change, we want to tackle loans or lending as a different perspective. And then obviously, if we can reduce the cost of capital, say from 24% to 8%, that is going to definitely increase the sustainability of the farm so that they can do the next crop. So this is where it's all motivated. But I'm happy to go deep.
Yeah, amazing. So very important topics that Farmhawk is addressing. So could you tell a little bit about like how does it actually work? Like what is the product? How does Farmhawk actually help farmers with these issues?
So I'll not go into the technical part because that's for the maybe next session, right? Now, first clarification is we don't want farmers to be bombarded with AI, blockchain, crypto wallets, artificial intelligence, right? They are not going to care. I'll tell you for sure. We are talking about farmer who probably doesn't have a smartphone. Only 30% of farmers today have smartphones, and forget about talking about MetaMask or phantoms of the world and correct. That's not what happens. I mean, that's not the way we want to really approach this. We approach in a way that UX becomes much simpler for a farmer to use, multilingual, and the trust factor is created by the field officers who are within 5 to 10 kilometers range. So we have, because initially we thought, okay, let's call a farmer, and then we were a technology company based in Singapore with DevOps happening in India, and then you call a farmer in northeastern part of India, and he doesn't even understand English or Hindi. He wants you to speak in Kashi language, which is KSHI Kashi, right? And the same thing happens in Eastern Africa, where we have done a lot of pilots. They wanted to speak in Swahili. You cannot go and say, right? So we said we took all these inputs, and today Farmhawk is actually multilingual. That's the biggest uh, starting point, right? You don't talk to them in the local language by a local person who is, for us in our case, is a field officer or ambassador for Farmhawk. The person is available. They want to see face to face, so that they could now allow Farmhawk to do the mapping of the farm. That's exactly where the starting point is. We call the hook, right? If you do not know that an asset belongs to a farmer, there's no way we can create any of the financial inclusion, the credit scoring, any of this is not possible. Who is a farmer? Right? A farmer, somebody owns a land, an asset. And how do we tell the asset to a financial institution? We give a proof. We map the farm, we put the data on chain. That's exactly where it becomes immutable, right? And today the fraud happens in this global south. You may own the land, but suddenly you have 10 people claiming that they own the land. That's exactly what we're starting. We say that let's do a GS mapping by a person they trust from the local village or nearby village. They can come, they can explain them in the local language, the benefits of this. So today we don't even talk about lending, we don't talk about insurance, we don't talk anything, right? Because day one, if you start telling them we'll do 10 things out of Farmhawk, they are not going to trust it or they are going to confuse. Our simplest hook is to do a JS mapping of the farm. Let's say 1 acre of land and 1 hectare of the land, and let our reason why we named Farmhawk is that hawk is a bird which can see from in a long distance, right? We say about. Now, for us, from a technology point of view, the hawk is actually satellite. So we use satellites that are always monitoring the land, and the moment we do the GIS mapping, now we can really analyze simplest things, but they are most effective. If I can tell a farmer that is actually cultivating rice, and we tell them that there's no water in your thing, it's going to die. Simplest thing, but it's impacting or saving the crop. We can tell through our satellite imagery. We use deep vision AI, but we're not going to tell the farmer it's AI, right? It's not. For him, the person should be able to see, okay, is it red, is it green, is it amber, is it all good or not? That's what we do. That's UX what we do, right? So what we do is typical things. We talk about if moisture is good, if the growth is good, and the main factor is that whether there is a pest attack happening on the field. So if you can really proactively, alert the farmer about a pest attack, we are indirectly saving the crop. Right? That's the first thing what we do. Now coming to the climate change we spoke, right? Why climate change? By using our satellite imagery, we actually tell the farmers where not to put chemical fertilizers. The note is very important. Reason is that in the last 6 years of our a lot of pilots we have run, right? The stress is only 30 to 40% on the ground, but the farmer doesn't know. The farmer gets confused because they think there's no growth on, say, northeastern part of the acreage. That's fine. That is correct. There's probably pest attack or there's no fertile land there. But because he has not been given proper data, he's actually overfeeding the farm. It's like saying that, okay, I might have one plate of biryani, chicken biryani. As a minimum. I can't eat 10. It's the same concept with farmland also. The moment you keep putting the fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, it is going to go saline. It's going to get salty for the next 15, 20 years. So what we do is one of the important stress levels is called environmental stress, where we clearly say you can't see by naked eye, but your farm is getting degraded. So we are saying do not put too many chemical fertilizers. We can pinpoint where the stress is. Just put there and maybe a little bit more. Maybe if it's 30%, put 40%. So what's going to happen is there are a couple of things happening, right? One, we are good to the environment, lesser greenhouse gas emissions because only 40% is going in. Second thing is it's actually good on the wallet of the farmer. He was paying $20. He only pays about 40%. It's probably $8. So we are giving direct $12 savings on that particular acre. Third thing is because we are able to pinpoint the particular attack, the pest attack, we are also saving the crops. This is the simplest thing how Farmhawk is today. Of course, they can do a 6 weeks historical analysis. They can look at the weather forecast. They can download the reports in their native language. That's exactly where we want to start. We probably want to fail fast there. Not trying to do 10 things in lending. We do ABC and we go to crop insurance, call all the rates in the banks and all, right? Today, bank says, can you show me credible data? Can you show me some data, alternative data that could increase their financial scoring? This is the start for us. So I hope I answered your question.
So, I mean, Farmhawk is like touching upon so many important issues with this system that you've developed at this platform. It's very impressive work. You've already been working on many years. Like
yeah, 6 years now. Been there for 6 years, right? So, of course, initially we were not clear what exactly the farmer wanted. So it's a lot of iterations that happened. Pandemic happened. So we still sustained the pandemic at this, right? But what came out very clear from a farmer's perspective is that if you can gain the trust with a local person, they will trust you for life. Now, if you once we have the data and build up their credit scoring, then we want to go back and tell them now, okay, if you look at Africa, crypto is still accepted. India may not be, right? Still regulations are not very clear. But that is not a showstopper for us. As long as we can prove that, okay, we have used a liquidity pool. People like you and I have probably we have say $1,000 lying in your custodial wallets. They are not earning any APY, any yield at all. At the max today, stable coins are giving a yield of 3% or 2%. We want to actually increase it 6% for you, right? So for you, it's easy. And we want to also give a proof that the money you have put in the liquidity pool is actually helping a farmer. The entire transparency is building on blockchain. That's where blockchain comes in. Immutable. You put in $100. I put in $500 in the liquidity pool. We have got 100 people putting in say $100 each. Right? There's a big pool coming in. Now, if we can lend to a farmer from this liquidity pool at 8%, we're automatically decreasing the cost of capital from 24% to 8% already, which is the biggest gain. Are we doing it today? No, because we don't want to rush it and then confuse the farmer. I'll give you crypto, right? But what is working today is a total analysis we are able to do. We have the Farmhawk doing the analysis, right? So we built a solid foundation for anybody to build. So what in essence what we have built is an AI agentic infrastructure, but only things for agriculture. Why agriculture? And you and I have to eat food, right? I mean, we are having coffee, I'm sure from milk from a cow. We're going to have some sandwich later. So if the farmers are not producing the raw materials or the food, not good. So that's why we always banked on food as a primary requirement for all human beings, and it's going to take it's a huge market size as well. But we're not getting into the details now because I don't want to confuse the audience. But the idea here is that if we can put a safety net around the farmers using technology and without confusing them with technology, making it easier for them to use technology, first get their crops yield going up. Then in the next phase, we will start uh, creating the AI agents for anybody to start getting liquidity pools on Farmhawk, and they can do the lending with full traceability about whether the money went to buy fertilizers or pesticides, or did they pay for labor, did they use it for renting some tractors, for example, equipment, agriculture. So our vision is very clear. We will continue to be in AI agentic infrastructure, and obviously probably Solana or any of this. We are multi-chain, but again, that's not the focus area, right? Focus area is that can you really help farmers? Can you reduce the cost of capital? Once you do that, we can do a lot of other stuff. We can give them insurance. We can allow them to rent equipment here, but the funding is always there. They don't have to go to a loan shark, take a 24% or 36%. That's the vision. We will start executing that. But today we are definitely making sure that we do the mapping part of it. We've been fairly successful. We integrated with Siren, obviously, with the agentic flows where we have opened our MCP servers. So I think we should talk about what's happening in Siren because I'm also very interested how a tech could actually go through Siren and how people can use it.
Right. So yeah, before we get into that, just one more I wanted to ask about this framework and how it's like working because I mean it's quite amazing like with this platform and what you've developed. So from the farmer's perspective, they can actually get so much useful information about their own land, right? Like they're actually just able to like check exact their land plot and then they get a full report like where should they put their fertilizer, like how is the land doing, what is the health of the land, is there any flood coming, should they change when they are doing harvest. I mean, it's just the full report, whatever the farmer needs, like they're getting off the land. So this is like amazing. And when we think of having this tool, it almost feels like, how is it possible that this tool didn't exist? Like, how did the farmers manage? Because it's like having a blindfold on, like you're trying to manage your land, but you have actually no idea what you're doing, right? Like you're putting pesticides, you're putting all these things you don't even know if you should or not. And it's yeah. So this is really incredible, and it's the, the incredible the direct help to the farmer in so many different ways, right? Like the financial way. Now it's the help for their land. Then for the bigger picture, it's also helping the planet because I mean farmers. Yeah, I mean it's just it's incredible, really. So one thing I wanted to ask was like, is this reaching like all over the world, farmers? And how do you distribute this platform and this tool to the farmers?
That's a very interesting question. Uh, Today we are talking about 500 million farmers, starting from South America. So our focus is only on smallholder farmers. So earlier you made a statement, what's happening to them, right? Today the differentiation is that the remaining 13%, today 87% of the farmers across the world fall into the category of smallholder farmers. But then we have 13% farmers, say, talk about farmers in US, Australia, and Europe, where the land holdings are like 1,000 hectares of, or even 2,000 hectares. In Australia, they use like low flying planes to put pesticides, right? They already have technology. We don't want to try to solve for them because they probably have the lidar mapping. I was talking to a very big plantation yesterday in Indonesia, over 120,000 hectares. They're big corporations, right? Corporate farming. This technology is not for them. But probably it looks very intimidating for them to say, "Oh, can I look for my 1 acre?" They say, "I should look for 100 acres," and those cycles are going to take longer time to close, right? We're not focusing on that. So today, the farmers have been totally dependent on agriculture officers, their own intuition. You look at all this with technology; it's been there for a lot of years. In fact, the satellites that are providing this data, we use Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 and Landsat as a backup. They've been telling us it's you take it, right? We just had to write an email and get all the APIs opened up and everything. I said it's been there. Nobody asked us. Right? It's funny, isn't it? And I said, this is a social impact platform we are trying to create. And he said, yeah, you should start it. We cleared it, right? So today, when we do a mapping of the farm and somebody clicks and analyze, we actually hit the satellites direct and get all the data. Then the data is applied against our artificial intelligence models to really bring it to a way a farmer can understand. Today, farmer can understand whether it's red, green, or amber. That's it. We don't want to tell them, okay, this is from Sentinel. He is not really worried. If we can do that work. So just to clarify that bigger farms have got a lot of technology. We have to respect that. It's been there. I mean, they are also producing for a lot of stuff for a lot of people across the world. Like smallholder farmers, they produce about 30 to 40% of the food we produce, but they are the bigger size because they're putting so much of fertilizers, so much of pesticides here. Sometimes it may go reverse. That the yield may not come out very clearly, or we are degrading the soil. So we're also in a mission of regenerative farming. Look at 60, 70 years before, at least in India, which where I hail from. People are doing organic fertilizers. Yield was not great, that's understandable, but it was healthy, right? Then green revolution came, and suddenly people said, okay, let's put chemical fertilizers. Yield went up, obviously, but in the last 50 to 60 years, it started degrading the land that you need to put more and more fertilizers just to come to the same levels as what is happening. This is the maths behind this, right? So who is gaining in all this? Obviously, the multinational companies. Nothing against them, but my point is that why overfeed a farm when you have a technology that can tell you where not to put? That's exactly the gap we want to build. Now, to answer the other question, how many people are using? We have run a lot of pilots across Eastern Africa, in India, not just in India, where we have got a lot of constant feedback in the last 4 to 5 years. We built all the tech. A couple of biggest problems we have solved was in northeastern part of India, where we actually helped women farmers make 20% more revenues. I'm very proud of to say that. The reason what is happening is that when they produce a type of turmeric, it's called Lakadong turmeric. It's highly best quality in the world. But even when they produce this, right, they are selling to the middleman who wouldn't even tell what's the actual market price. They sell at X price, then they market about 50, 40, 40 to 50%, and then sell. Because of blockchain and whatever we have given to them, we are able to trace all the events on blockchain. This is like 6, 7 years before what we achieved. And then we told the story on blockchain, the total traceability, and it was sold directly to a processor. We actually bought it 20% more. He was actually buying 40% more from middleman. So they save 20%. Now you see how it's going on. If they're selling at $1, this processor is actually buying at $1.4 from the middleman. We cut on the middleman. So halfway, so farmer makes 1.2, he's making 1.2. So both have said 50%. You see the what's coming in? So that is where the technology can impact. Just put data points, but the data points must be immutable, clean. Because the point without clean data, then it doesn't make any sense, right? So this is where we are trying to tell people, saying that use technology so that it can create something good. We call AI for good now. That's exactly his mission, actually.
Yeah, I love this AI for good, and yeah, it's really amazing social impact project. So yeah, and then to answer your comment or question that you were saying about Siren AI, so we are creating like a flow agent together with Farmhawk. So this will be more in another stream, shown to everyone and presented how it's going to work. But everyone will get a chance to use this application through this agent as well. And yeah, so that's going to be an exciting development coming very soon. So now with Satish, I would like to ask if you have any closing comments, like anything that you would still like to say to our audience.
So first of all, I'm thankful to Siren AI. I've seen the initial integrations with your tech team. I believe within 10 minutes, anybody can now start using our data, which is I'm more excited about and to see how it goes. So what happened is that we opened up our MCP servers to Siren, and I think the feedback we got is that it's got all the data very smooth. You hit and you got all the data, and they were able to integrate and start integrating with bots and whatever wants to consume our data, which is good. So a lot of use cases which even we didn't think about. For example, we have now opened up the pollution index. It happens in biggest cities in India. Delhi is Gurgaon and all this world and other countries in the world, right? So now anybody with integrating Siren workflows, I believe, I was told that they know they can start predicting what's going to happen in this city, for example, just on a simplest use case. But that's not our forte. Our forte is obviously to solve problems for the farmers. We would be more excited to see if any flows could be built within Siren, which will increase the market linkage for farmers. For example, we could Siren could create a marketplace where they say, okay, we have got access to, say, for example, turmeric, black pepper in these markets, and the bot can basically be chatting, and trader could be chatting or buyer could be chatting with a Siren bot or any interface that says, okay, I want to buy 10 tons of turmeric. And we say, oh, this is data. We have got all the traceability data available. We can verify that on chain. If you want, we can connect you to the farmer directly. That's what I want to really see. I'm sure we can achieve it in next couple of weeks. But that's my closing statement. That technology is one part of the story, probably 20%. 80% is distribution. So I'm very glad that Siren came up as one of the first distributors of a technology at a 10 minutes. I'm pretty much excited about that. Happy to speak more in the coming sessions, but thank you very much for your time. And any other questions are
Thank you so much. Really our pleasure to have you, Satish, and to talk about this amazing project. And this we of course, like, the possibilities are going to be endless with these flows and the agents. So everyone will also get a chance not only to like interact with this agent and with the platform through the agent, but also to create their own versions, right? So there are so many ways to use this data and this application in different ways, like you also already described.
Anybody can call our agent, get it done. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we'll go into
So
this.
yeah, so we'll continue these conversations, and you'll continue to hear from Satish and Farmhawk. And go check out the platform. Thank you so much for listening and having coffee with Cyrene, and we'll see you again soon.